This is the third talk in a series of talks we've been doing with Bentley, and it's part of a partnership that will be going on for 3 years with Bentley, whereby we are supporting and inspiring the next generation of design talent, as well as championing design excellence and sustainable solutions. Of course, we're located here in Seoul, and I'm joined by 3 fantastic panelists who are very well versed to talk about today's key topics of craft and luxury. Next to me is Teo Yang. Teo is the designer and founder of Teo Yang Studio. In the middle, we have Jiyoon Lee, curator, founder of Sum Project, and the former managing director of MMCA in Korea. And then at the end, we have Chris Cooke, and he is the head of design collaborations at Bentley Motors. Teo, I was wondering if you could help set the scene. Like, what is the craft scene like here?
We now call the craft scene almost the renaissance of craft. Craft has been considered as a form of something that's from the past, but now people are really trying to create a chance using craft to create new business, a new chance, and new ways of introducing new aesthetics into the design scene.
So you say you have a strong craft scene here, but do you find that the world is now attracted to this place and wants to participate with you?
Yes, definitely. I think it started maybe from the entertainment culture and the pop culture, but now it's evolving to clothing and food, and I think craft could be the next venture that people can look into. Yes.
To some extent, I was interested in how you see the definition of craft in its own right. Like when we talk about craft with a capital C,
Yes.
what does that really mean?
I think the craft, the capital C, I think really deeply engaging with the making things by human hands. And then not only for the efficiency, but I think it has some sort of locality, authenticity. You can really bring something to celebrate of now this high technology society.
And Chris, craftsmanship is something that's sort of entwined across the Bentley portfolio. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. I think craftsmanship and Bentley have gone hand in hand for many years. And it's interesting, I was having a conversation with a colleague at Bentley the other day, and we were talking about the history of craft and luxury and where the notions even came from. We got to talking about the hand axe, which was one of the most original tools ever made in the Stone Age. Essentially a piece of stone that's been chipped away to create this really rough, almost teardrop-shaped object with a very, very sharp edge. And we can either use it to kind of cut down a tree and craft something beautiful, or we could use it to kill each other. And that's a choice that's very interesting in terms of the world of AI now, is that is also a tool, and we have the choice of what to do with it. We can create beautiful artwork and beautiful things, or we can use it to destroy each other. But what's interesting is at some point in history, somebody picked up that really rough rock and they started polishing it and shaping it until it was super smooth. But it didn't function any differently. The piece still was as sharp as the rough piece, and it still cut down trees. But there was inherent value associated with that. And so it was given to the chief of the tribe, and it was actually a status symbol at that point. And it was a status symbol because you could see the hand of the person that had spent time crafting that into a beautiful object. And inherently, that's the beauty of craft and luxury, that it transcends time, it transcends culture, it transcends language.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about the different areas, design, different words that we use, design, fashion, architecture, and so on. But it strikes me that there's a thread through all of this, which is craft, and almost like craft as an attitude.
Yes.
Teo, I was wondering if you could share some examples where you see that happening.
So what we're doing is we select one artisan and one young artist and helping them to not only improve their skills, we're finding ways for them to thrive in the contemporary scene. Will their design has relevance to the 21st century, their way of making objects, is it in the right price range that can people afford, or so those are the little things that we check, and I think that's where the design needs to step in. Another thing that we're making sure is that maybe it's something that's opposite from craft going towards art, but we're making sure that craft doesn't turn into art. We're making sure that these craft people don't consider themselves art, but we're making sure that they're creating something for a daily use.
Interesting you said that you tried to make a distinction from art. So is your definition of craft that it has to have some function?
Definitely. I mean, craft didn't start as creating art. It was just daily objects that we use. Of course, we have a great tradition of metalsmith, ceramics, woodworking. So we do have a foundation of craft in the society, but I think younger generations and the government is really challenging and putting more emphasis on that we preserve all of this, but also have fun and show your creativity within the craft scene.
That's great that the government is supporting that. In the UK, we have a website, I don't know if you've seen it, Max, it's called the Craft Red List, and it's a list of crafts in the UK that are going extinct. And there's some that have been made extinct, and there's others that are on the warning list at the moment. And I think it's important for for us as designers to use a platform like this to talk about that, because I think it's fascinating if you can take a craft that's sadly going extinct and as a designer put a new twist on it, a new take on it, contemporize it, and help support these amazing historical kind of feats of craft and engineering, and just make them relevant for the modern world. I think that's a really important and very beneficial thing for everybody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think government support, of course, is interesting. But frankly, I think the younger generation can be really benefited from the global luxury or global brands, their support and their engagement with the local art scene and craft and design scene is very interesting, because the Loewe Foundation, launched this great award. And then after, there are many young the designers, they really, start to open their small studio, start to making the new future tradition. And then they start to believe that there could be a market.
Yeah, so those very important initiatives give a kind of confidence to people to enter that market. But at the same time, Chris, you're talking about an extinction list, which I think is kind of fascinating. What can we do to I don't want to say be too nostalgic and hold on to things that are too much in the past, but what can we do to encourage maybe a sort of slowdown in some ways, to say it's okay to slow down and take the time to learn?
I think one way is through creativity. I think the world is changing very quickly, and I think we need to make these crafts relevant for the future customer.
I suppose if you think back through time, every creative pioneer has in history worked with the latest technology of that time. So maybe you could talk about some of the interesting digital technologies that the realm of craft is embracing.
Humans always want to be like gods, and machines always want to be like human. So I think there's a huge possibilities that we can create by combining technologies and human touch, and by turning what we can do and what we have created into data. Like for instance, I have been collecting these old earthenwares dating back to 3 to 5 centuries, and I've been 3D scanning all of these, and I've been asking ChatGPT or other AI integrated programs to manipulate the data into what could be the future forms, and create a momentum where AI could step in and have this creation of its own.
Certainly something I've noticed within the realm of craft is the embrace of those technologies, but trying to hack some of the programming and some of the algorithms. So the artisan or the craftsperson takes that tool, goes into the sort of back end of the technology, if you like, changes it, manipulates it, and creates an object that is entirely unique to them. Because of course the danger of digital technology is that I can transfer the file to you, and you could give it to her, and it no longer becomes unique. It can be made anywhere in any fabrication facility. So is that something that you've noticed going on?
We're spending a lot of time at Bentley kind of investigating new and modern technology. The thing about technology is it's always advancing and moving on, but we as humans are essentially the same. So we want to kind of utilize technology to mimic nature in a way, and we're looking at kind of how to utilize AI and technology to look at changing the interior of a cabin, for example, utilizing light and making and giving kind of caustic light, a bit of a spotlight, if you will, in the interior to kind of create that ambience and environment. Because essentially what we're trying to do is pair what we are as human, which is the constant, with what is ever changing, which is technology, and see if we can, as you say, dance with those two parameters and create something that feels very elevated and very curated in the environments that we're developing.
I always find with designers, those that are often the best have had some form of apprenticeship, if you want to call it that, or some experience within a workshop or a facility where they're actually seeing how things are made. There's a real danger that we just teach designers at college to design on a screen, and they have kind of no idea really how materials behave and so on. And so that's certainly something I hope continues to be embraced.
It was also interesting at Bentley, actually, with one of the brands that we have actually 3 generations of people working in our wood shop. Wow. So you'll have a craftsman who's been working there for years, who then teaches his son the skill set, who then teaches his son the skill set. Yeah. And so you have this real generational development.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, you'll see that in the glass workshops in Venice as well, the Murano, that wonderful sort of... I mean, I'm not a huge fan of hierarchy, but there is hierarchy when it works, and that's an example of it. The master and the various tiers, and they all work together in this very poetic sort of way. I have just a final question. I don't even know really if it's a question, but I thought it would be quite nice to use this talk as a platform to talk up a particular craft skill or a technique or an individual creator that is exciting you now, and who or what would that be?
There's a really cool fabricating technique in Japan that I've recently discovered, which is fantastic, called shishuku, which is a way of kind of repairing fabric on clothing, but done in a really beautiful way, almost utilizing embroidery to repair fabrics. And why that resonates with me in kind of the luxury sphere is because it's all about creating products that are unapologetically you. So those clothing items, they're obviously worn in a certain way and they're wearing down because of the way that you use them as an individual. So when you repair them in a beautiful way, you're kind of repairing them and it's becoming more and more of a statement of your choices and your lifestyle.
So what you're talking about there is a mindset shift, though, away from this idea that we always have to live with things in perpetual perfection.
Yeah, for sure.
To embrace this notion of maybe imperfection or personality.
As a designer, I'm really interested in the process of making things. Like, for instance, how do we create fabrics but in a very innovative way that's not the original but in a traditional way of putting throughout the factories. Like, for instance, scientists are growing fabrics using bacteria and creating beautiful forms, and people are using abandoned perished wood and they're creating plastic with this. So it's called transparent wood that has the natural fiber wood, but injected with resin, it creates a beautiful sort of a glass. And it's so much sustainable than creating traditional plastic or creating traditional glass. So there's all this way of creating something that we can use, but in a sustainable way. And I'm really keen on the collaboration between nature and technologies and creating something new that would benefit both of us and really find ways for nature and people to coexist together. And I think that could be the starting point of a new luxury as well. And how do we define ourselves in the universe, and how do we find better ways to live, and not trying to overcome or win nature, but how do we lose and make peace with it? So I'm really interested in those topics.
Lovely.
And those materials. Yes.
Lovely. Thank you, Teo. Transparent wood.
Yes.
That's really intriguing. I'm going to
Yeah.
look that up as soon as we finish.
Yes.
Luxury.
Yeah. Thank you to the three of you. I really appreciate the discussion today. And thank you for Bentley for hosting us here in Seoul as well. And thank you all for coming. Round of applause for these guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you.